Hello. Well, my name is Eileen Rowe. I was born in St. Vincent, and at 23 years old, I left for Canada, and my intention was to break off an engagement to the person in St. Vincent who was supposed to marry me. I couldn't escape apart from leaving the island. Got to Canada, and I think it was within the first year, I met this Barbadian teacher who will not let me rest until I got married then to him. Mother of 3 wonderful children. The Canadian government sent my husband to West Africa, to Ghana, to teach. And at the end of the session, instead of going back to Canada, he opted to go home to Barbados, and it was approved. So we all went to Barbados. So I'm still here. And I was one of those very religious persons. I was very much involved in one of our traditional churches. I would not let you know the name now. But every morning I couldn't wait to hear, "My Lord can move the highest mountain." And that was how I was being fed. It was, I was addicted. And then I didn't know where Bishop's Court Hill was. So I couldn't even visit the church there. Well, my husband came home one day and he says, "Hey, I gave somebody a lift from St. George and I dropped them off at the People's Cathedral." I said, "What? That's the church I want to go. I want to find out about it." And so we decided, well, one Sunday we would miss our regular church and go to People's Cathedral. Well, it was the Lord's appointment, because every one of us lifted our hands. Children, my husband, myself. Went to the prayer room and surrendered to the Lord. And from that day, I thought I had the date here. It was the 31st of January, 1975. By the 6th of September, 75, I was baptized. And that was it. My life changed. I was sold out for the Lord. And I was concerned about my 3 teenagers. I wanted them to have to get what I have. And so I registered to be a Sunday school a Sunday school teacher's training session. And I registered for the training session. I made it very clear at the end. I came first too among the students. And I made it very clear to Pastor Gail. Yeah, she was head. And I said, I don't want to be a Sunday school teacher. I took this course so I can work with my 3 children and teach them. I didn't want to be a Sunday school teacher. That was why I went. However, the issue came with the separation in the church. And Pastor Gill, who was head of the Sunday school, asked me to hold on with her class while she'd be available to attend to any class where the teacher was not present. So based on that, I held on to her class. However, when that season had passed, I seemed to be stuck as a teacher, what I didn't want to be. And so I became a full-time Sunday school teacher. Did that. Pastor Kalonen was leaving. I was told I'm to teach his class. So I shifted there. And Sister Rosie asked that I would come and be a part of her staff. That was a ladies group. I enjoyed every bit of it. Every bit of it. I was so excited about the Lord that I knew about for so many years, and now I know Him. That transformed my life. So I wanted more. I went to the Bible college, the New Testament Bible college. I was in the classroom with some folks from the university, some young people, brilliant young people. I was in a class in the Bible college. And guess who was a valedictorian? If you please. So my pastor, Holmes, was certainly one of the invitees at the graduation. And he heard me valedictorian address. And that was it. I came on the staff at People's Cathedral, and I loved and enjoyed it. It was just as though it was where I belonged. Love it. I thank God for leading me to the People's Cathedral. And my eyes were opened. I loved the scripture, but it became alive to me. And the God who I feared, who was so far away, became close to me. I thank God for Pastor Holmes Williams. He cared for the converts. I loved him as a brother, as a father, because I see him as a father to the faithful, a counselor. I could share from my heart with my pastor. I never had a pastor before. I didn't understand what it meant to have a godly pastor until I met my Pastor Holmes. So he would advise me always in the right direction. And it was God appointed. That's how I see it. Because God knew my love for him that I wasn't able to express. There's so much I didn't know. And because I was a very religious person. And I thank God. I loved Pastor Holmes as a brother, as a spiritual father, as a counselor, and someone who would take the time to help when help was needed. I respected him throughout. My family benefited. I watched my children grow up. I watched Wendy became singing in the... All three of them, they sing as trio. David and his two sisters, Valerie and Wendy, yes. So they were used in the ministry. And then when David and Wendy went away, David and Valerie went away first. And David, and then Wendy, she became a soloist at the church. So I thank God for taking me to the People's Cathedral and allowing me to see my children grow in him. I wanted them to know the Lord, that's the same Lord that I came to know. There I was, let me tell you the journey, or part of my journey. I was, you know how I became a Sunday school teacher. I taught the teens class, I taught the youth class, and I taught in the women's class. And it was all beneficial to me. I thoroughly enjoyed being used for the kingdom. So at one point, I was head of the Sunday school teachers, head of the Crusaders. We had Crusaders then. What was the others? A captain, and I was head of the captains at one point. And any area that I was asked to serve, I was very enthusiastic about it. I must let you know that I love the Lord. I was so grateful that he saved me when he did, that I would do anything that the Lord requires. To this very day, I lived in Grisette's, In those days, I didn't have a car. And I would walk from Lower Broad Street, where I worked with Barbados Fire, the original Barbados Fire. I would walk from Barbados Fire home to Grisette so I could witness the people I meet on the road. I'd enjoyed it. I would always get somebody to come on the sidewalk, and I'm telling them about the Lord. Witness the people. Went all up the Stadium Road, and I was just so full of what God had deposited in me that I wanted everybody I meet to get it. So that's part of, and anything that Pastor Holmes wanted me to do at People's, I was available. I was a captain, but yet I was head of the captains at one point. Sunday school teacher, head of the Sunday school teachers. And I still had my responsibility. I enjoyed my life because the Lord had opened my eyes and enabled me to love Him. Christ is the Answer Crusade and the chariot. It was going across Barbados. And then the pastor had the vision to take it to the other islands of the Caribbean. I went to 3 islands with that chariot. I went to St. Vincent, to St. Lucia, and to Dominica. It was glorious. I can't even begin to list the people who went with us from People's Cathedral. It was so, different ones at different times. But I had my responsibility to all 3 islands. I was responsible for dispensing the funds. Brother Greenwich was in charge of the meals. So I had to dispense funds for the grocery buying, and sometimes for those who assist locally. So I was a treasurer in all 3 islands. Not only that, I was responsible for teaching the new converts, because we had new converts, people every night accepted. That was a glorious opportunity for me to see people weeping their way to the altar, to accept the Lord. And it was always an overflowing crowd. So all 3 islands, and the chariot would be driving us and taking equipment and to the field where the crusade ground was. And I remember once we were in Dominica, and we were traveling on the lower road, and there was a chariot traveling on the upper road, and everybody just burst out, because it was like the chariot became like a companion, and it was so excited. I was also responsible for teaching the Inquirers classes. So all the new converts who surrendered their life to the Lord, we had to prepare them for baptism. So I would teach the classes, and then the pastor would have the baptism before we leave the island. So that's part of it, but to me it was glorious. It was glorious. There's a lot of praying times. You pray for the crusade and you believe God, and then you see the manifestation of the power of the Holy Spirit and people weeping their way to the altar. It was wonderful. You see that chariot that's parked outside the church. That chariot would be taken down to the port in Bridgetown. And that chariot would be shipped to whatever island we're having the crusade. And then it would be taken all across the mountains. Hilly mountains, right? St. Vincent has a lot of hills, Dominica, and also St. Lucia. Unlike Barbados is like a piece of cake. They usually say that about us. And twice we had the excitement. So the pastor would provide transportation for those of us who are part there, part of the crusade. So we could just go through the island and see some interesting places and so on. And I remember going through, and on a higher level, the chariot is passing, going to the crusade ground, wherever it was supposed to be. And I was so messy, but wait a minute, what's the chariot doing up there? You know, and it was like you had to begin to grab your thinking and know, hey, you know, there's a hill, there's a mountain, and the chariot is traveling. So it was taken to the crusade ground, and you know the hilly islands. Sometimes when you look down, you see the sea. Because the road just sort of is on a ridge, and some of those things were, nerve rattling for you. But everything was just an experience, and then the culmination of it all is when you see the souls who were ready to follow the Lord in the waters of baptism. It was glorious. The pastors were usually very excited, very, filled with gratitude because of those who followed the Lord in the waters of baptism. And I would conduct the inquirers class in preparation for baptism. You look forward to going on the mission field and seeing people who were thirsty for the Word, thirsty for the Lord, surrender with tears flowing, and it was just awesome. And you just look forward to when is the next crusade? And we give thanks that the Lord has used us time and time again. And the pastors, they were so filled with gratitude. Pastor Daniel in St. Vincent, Pastor Aristide, I think it was. Can't remember the names now. But it was a fantastic experience. And when I pass the church and I see that chariot parked there, in my heart, I'm hoping there will be another season for the Crusades. You know, some people think that the Crusades were olden days, but you still have people needing the Lord, and they wouldn't come out to church to hear the gospel message. But if you take it to the district, like we did here in Barbados, I remember when it was at Oyston, when different parts of Barbados, people who don't go to church will listen to the gospel message in the open air. I hope that season is not over, because every season people need the Lord. It's not a seasonal thing. It's a life decision. And I'm grateful to the Lord for giving me that experience, or those experiences. Well, I was there when the pastor planned to have a school, People's Cathedral Primary School. I was on the board, school board, church board. And the pastor was concerned about children, having a school where children can know of the Lord and can know that there is a better life. And so his burden was to take the young children and for them to be taught. And so we had board meetings and all the different plans for the school, for the structure to be built. When Lance was among the contractors, the location where the school was to be built on, I have seen it all. Mrs. Nichols, Dr. Ferdinand Nichols' mother, was the first principal, and she did a tremendous job. Well, she was an experienced school mistress. And we watched the numbers grow. I think as the record, the good record was going out of what the school was, how the children were being taught, and parents began bringing their children to the school. But it was a vision of a pastor. He talked about it quite a while before it became a reality. It was in his heart. And students benefited. They were outstanding students. It was a success from the beginning. Yeah, so we watched the structure go up. Lance was one of the contractors there. And parents were excited to have a Christian school, Christian teachers. So it really made an impact on the ministry. And then we had the co-op, Brother Greenwich's dream. He worked at Purity, and there was a co-op there. So he realized how it benefited, the staff benefited. And it was his idea that we could have a co-op at the church, which we did. And people had food, could get food at a reasonable price because he would buy it in bulk. And out of that, the food bank. We had every first Sunday, members of the congregation would bring a package of non-perishable food. And there was a big drum. You'd drop it in it. And then there's so much. There's so much developing. Our pastor always had plans of development, for going on to the next level, benefiting God's people. How can you improve, the ministry? Our pastor was a visionary. And he had the support from the staff chosen. We all stood behind him. We loved our pastor, and we stood behind him. Whatever the Lord put in his heart, we were ready to run with it. Yeah, I taught the teens class, and we used to have fun. I had them busy doing things, like we needed a cupboard built. We had the men who knew how to build a cupboard. The young men would do it, and we used to have a lot of fun in the class. We would do witnessing. And it was fantastic. I meet some of the students then from way back, and some are married families and all of that, but they still remember some of the times that we had together. It was like a fun class, but teaching and appreciating the gospel message. And then Dave Colonan went back to the States. And I was sent now to that class. And I had some students like Lance and others who had passed the age of the class, but they were not prepared to leave the class. And we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But then I was asked to join Sister Williams, the ladies' class, because one of her teachers had returned to the States, I think. She was a pastor's wife. And so I was shifted there, and I enjoyed the ladies. Anyway, I'll just tell you, I was so excited about knowing the Lord, about having Jesus living in my heart, that wherever I would be planted to share about Him, I was ready. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being a captain. I enjoyed, oh, and then I was head of the captains at one point. So the Lord just moved me from pillar to pillar to pillar. And you know what? I enjoyed every bit of it. I never, felt I didn't want to leave this side. I just want to be used. I had an enthusiasm that only the Lord could have given me. Yeah, I've been working in the insurance field for many years. Actually, I was a teacher before, and then went into the insurance field. And then I moved from one company to another because one person offered me a car, one person offered me whatever I wanted, big offers. And so I just accepted as I liked. So the time came, I was approaching retirement age, and I was looking forward to it. Although the company would not have wanted me to retire at that age if I wanted to continue working. So Pastor Holmes called me one day and he said, "Eileen, when are you retiring?" I said, "Well, I haven't put the date, but I'm thinking of it." He says, "Good. Well, I want you to come on the staff at People's because Sister Edgell hasn't had long leave for so many years, and she needs to get long leave. And I'd like you to come and take her responsibility, head of the staff." Do you remember those days? and be on the staff at People's. So that's how I joined the staff at People's. I remember when I went to the manager of the company, insurance company I work with, and I said, one of the largest companies in Barbados, and I said, "I'm thinking of retiring." And he said, "No, you're not. We can't let you retire." I said, "Well, I'm thinking of it, and I have decided, and I have an offer at the People's Cathedral, and I'm going to work there." And he said, "Well, I can't fight with God, but we need you in the company." I said, "Well, I'm very sorry. I have to say goodbye." So I went to the People's Cathedral. And he was so annoyed with me. But a few years later, he asked me to pray for him. He asked me to pray for him. So I got into the staff at People's when Sister Edgell went on a long leave. And all the members, Tina, Al, it was like being at home. Well, my heart is overflowing with gratitude because I know where the Lord brought me from. Way back, how many years ago? 50 odd years? I can't remember now. From 1975, 37 years? Is that it? 1975 was when I accepted the Lord. And He has never failed me. People say God never hits a chorus. Mm-hmm. He's always been there for me. Always. And my greatest desire was to see my children come to know the Lord, because I wanted them to receive what I received. When my husband and I were going, together, and we were serving the Lord together, but I didn't want my children to be left behind. So that was one of my greatest prayer, and I see God touch their hearts, and they came to accept the Lord on their own. That was, and not only my children now, everybody that I came in contact with, I wanted them to have what I had. It was just overflowing. I know my boss, everybody in the office knew, because whenever we had parties, I was in the midst of everything, planning and a lot of things. And I remember when I got saved and first and I went back to the office, one gentleman says, "Oh, I give you a few weeks or something like that, or a few days, but it was for keeps. There was no days, and I was changed. I had a good dose of salvation, because we used to have parties at the office, and they had, drinks and all of that, and you would be part of the crowd. But when I said yes to Jesus, it was yes. I had made a roundabout turn, you said, however you put it. It was never to get back to that world that I came from. But I had a good dose of salvation. And never to go back to where I used to be. I was changed for good. And it was a new life. And I thank God for it. I thank God for it. And surely enough, I was anxious to get baptized. And I encouraged so. Let me tell you, I didn't miss an opportunity to witness. I would have talked to, if the dog could talk when he comes out there, I would talk to him about the Lord. You would see me go walking home, and on the sidewalk, I'm meeting people, and they come here, man, let me tell you something. I have something to share with you, and they're coming excited. And it was about the Lord. I would walk all around the stadium to go up to Gazette's, where we lived, so I could meet people and share the gospel message. I was just overflowing with what the Lord had done for me. And actually, I had a Sunday school class in my home in Gazette's. I went and talked to mothers that have children, and I used to let them come and have to Sunday school class. So I used to have a class teaching them, and talk to the mothers as well, sharing the Lord. The office, they used to bring the cards, the gambling cards, and the sale, and I would be always buying my ticket and buying my things. And then when the guy comes, and the guy would come down and they call me, so they said, don't worry to call her. I used to be the first one there to get my bingo tickets and all those sort of things. And when I got saved, that was it. So let me encourage you. I can compare life without Christ and life with Christ, but there's no comparison. The beautiful thing about living for the Lord is to be free. There's a freedom and a liberty that the Lord gives you that you cannot get any other place. Everything else fails in comparison with a life that is surrendered to Jesus. It works, it is real, and it lasts if you will be faithful to what the Lord has deposited within you. And you know what? He is always available. You can call him anytime in the day or the night. He is available, and he is ready to help you. I could never live without the Lord. And neither can you if you stop and think it over. Because there is eternity one day for all of us. We got to prepare for it. It's not by chance that you spend eternity with the Lord. The other place, there is a real devil. And there is a lake of fire. This is not story, this is reality. So I encourage those of you who are listening to me, surrender to the Lord. That's the only life that makes sense. Jesus loves us, he died to save us. And I'm so thankful that he brought me to a place where I heard the gospel message at People's Cathedral. And that was a day that I cannot forget. It has turned on a light bulb in my life all these years. And I know that as this ministry continues until Jesus comes, there are souls out there who are hungry, who are just tired, who are just wasting the time. And why not? come to Jesus? Why not make that decision? Because this is the only life that makes sense. For now and for all eternity. God bless you.
The journey began way back in the beginning of the millennium. Then there was a change where they say the computers and everything would have crashed. And around that time, I came to the People's Cathedral. It was around my birthday. After a couple of days after my birthday, because we did the weekend and celebrated it. And the Saturday evening, I told the guys, look, I'm going to church. The guys asked me, what, you getting any problems? I said, well, if you gave me problems, I'm going to the right place. I'm going to church. And the journey began there. And the Sunday morning I wake up and tell she, well, she said she going. I said, all right, going with you. And she couldn't even believe that I go to church. So I got dressed and I came down to the People's Cathedral. That walk was the hardest walk I ever had to walk in my life. For some reason, I felt so scared just coming up that stretch, because like church is like church. I know dance hall and them things are I'm shocked, but I ain't really having a church experience that kind of way to sit down in the church a whole day and listen to a sermon and that kind of stuff. And that Sunday, I got saved. The same Sunday, I gave my life to Christ. And during that period, as time transgressed, shortly after that time I got saved, they started crusades. And the first crusade was in Bax's Road. It started at, I just heard that there was crusades in Bax's Road, so on my way from work, I had to pass through Bax's Road, so I would stop on evenings and listen to the crusades. And by that time I was a kind of quiet person. I never really used to like mix really. So I would go, stand up, listen, and then I would walk and go and catch the bus and go home. And after that crusade finished, shortly they had another crusade. That one was in, where is that? My Lord's Hill. And that is how I actually started then working with the crusade. Because that after the crusade finished, then they wanted help. So then I joined in and helped, and from there on, I was helping. After joining up with the guys, and we had done a few crusades across the island. I can't remember all exactly where. I can remember we went to St. George. We went to, I think it was Queen's Park. We do one in Queen's Park. We went to St. George. And then shortly after, the pastor mentioned that we are going to St. Lucia. That was the first one we went to. That was the first time I am traveling away from home and going out on my own. And it was like, cause for me it was kind of different, because my journey coming to Christ, it wasn't like I knew a lot about Jesus. I knew everybody, like you know that part that Jesus is the Son of God. You know John 3:16, cause I wouldn't know that well, cause I know when they get lashes, that would have been that part would have been told to me is true is John 3:16, cause when my old lady she beat and she would quote that scripture to me. So I knew that John 3 said, it had to be true, because the way how she would lick me, it would have to be true. And we said we're going to, so the pastor said they're going to St. Lucia, so then Curtis coming at me if I can get time off to come. I tell you what, I would check in with the boss and see. And I went and explained to him, and he said okay. Because he even glad to see me make a change too, because he don't know how I used to beat my drinks and just go to party hardy. So that St. Lucia experience was like out of this world. I experienced in St. Lucia, because that was like the first evening we going to set up, and it was like so much difficulties. We supposed to go one place and set up, and then they say, well, after then we get there, they say you can't set up there. So we had to go and look for alternative place. Now some places now to set up. And we did find a open like a brown light, and we went and put everything on it and set up. Went back home. So once it was there, I said to the guys, because I didn't know, so there was older than me. So I said to them, man, we should fast for this day, you know. The guy said, man, Shepherd, we ain't gonna already do all that now, because the people here already got everything in motion. And I said, anyhow, for me now, I felt in my spirit that I should fast for that day. I should not have no partake in the eating. So I decided, okay, if that was feeling my spirit, so I did not partake in no food. I just prayed, and we went to the pastor, and everything went well. They had a good turnout. But the amazing thing is when I got back home the night, after I went, when everybody we done had we fun and we sit down and we talk and stuff, and then we went to bed. As I went in and lay down, whilst I was laying down, I saw this bright light enter the room. I never seen nothing so pure and so pretty in all my life. And I was like so amazed. I couldn't see it, I didn't see nothing, I just looked at it in amazement to see how beautiful it was. But I know within myself that it was like an angel or something just turned up there and visited me in that time. And I felt so peaceful. And that gave me that inspiration then to continue doing this, going on missions. And because like when I was into this, because I can't really like read and write that kind of way like the rest, but I would always pray and ask the Lord to have his way and to direct whatever he want, let his will be done. And I find that though I could not read, I could have talked to people well. I could relate to people. And me and people used to get along so well. And so many people started to appreciate me, like speaking out from my point of view, not able to read and being bold enough to come and share it with other people. And it was inspiring also to other people know that figure that because they can't read that they are not important, but everybody's important to Christ. So from that point of view, I was able to share with others that would have gone through the same situation. And there was people that then would thank me, for just being so open, because people have to find a struggle to share or even to speak because they figure, well, they're not that educated, so they can't think. But I learned that God can use anything that you put in his hands. So once you put it in the Father's hand, he can mold it and shape it and fashion it to what he wanted it to be. So I grew in confidence. Yes, I never cried so much in all my life because it was kind of very emotional when I speak. But as I grow, as I learn, as I go, I would ask the Lord to strengthen me, to give me the wisdom and give me the authority to speak what he will have me to speak, so that other people could be touched by the testimony and what's not. So that St. Lucia crusade was the first step, and from there it just went. The setup process from St. Vincent now was like we had to get the container and move from one end of this from town to up the eastward or Lintonwood or whatever it was, but it was a good journey. It was a long journey. We went to the factory yard. It was like down the hole. We had to get the container down in there and then set up. But one of the things that was great about that, the people did come and everybody lent their hands to us. because at that time you really needed hands, because the modules and those things, they were so heavy. They wasn't easy. And I think those used to deter a lot of people from even coming to help. But we had a crew that it was like me, Benji, Pope, and there was one or two other guys that would have come. So then we had a time we had another little young electrician guy. He came with us. But we used to have the people used to come and give us a hand, and we had some good times with them at St. Vincent. Everybody would come out, we would get together, everybody would come and everybody would lend a hand. So we used to work together as a team. And that was very good. And we set up that evening, because it would be like the whole day we would actually spend there. From morning we go, and we set up and go right through till the crusade done, and then we go home the night. But one thing we could say is that we never lacked anything to eat or to drink. We used to be well taken care of. I mean, like, people used to just take care of me like we was their own. We was like kind of special, because they couldn't believe the way we used to operate and the love we used to show. It used to be so friendly, especially me. I used to be so friendly with people. They used to want to offer us a Vincentian. They want to offer the St. Vincent before I tell them no. But just the way it is, like, the pastor had taught me from the first beginning. He said, he would all call me Dave. He said, Dave, let me tell you something. Your first impression is always your best impression. So whatever you do the first time, people will remember you by it at all times. They don't care what, if you do it good after that time, they will remember what you done the first time. So always make sure when you do it, that you do it good from the beginning. And that stuck with me. So when we do anything, it used to be done in a manner that very respectful. Treat everybody, you know, we used to be like, I would treat everybody on the same level. So then I grew to have a good fan. Me and everybody used to be like, before every person say, first body to say, "We're tall man. Where's tall man? He ain't coming to see." If they don't see me, they want to where I am. That's the first body they want to see. And that was an experience that I just keep to grow, even though that, as I told you, though I can't read, I could relate to people. Because I raised in the country, so I would have raised among a lot of old people, because I was a quiet child. So the old people always did like me. I could, even now, at this age, I could go home and go any of the old people's house. I didn't even go asking no questions asked. I could just walk in, because that was the respect that we had back then for the older folks. Which is lacking now in these days. Which is sad, but life goes on. The Bible can't go wrong, so we know we had to experience these things. So St. Vincent was like, when it's to this place now, this is like a strange place, because you never see so much hills. This is like you're walking, there ain't a flat place you traveling, you know. When you traveling roads, you won't know where if you can drop off these roads, because these roads so small, and some of them drop so deep that you gotta think, what the hell? What is this? Well, you come from Barbados, you're saying everything flat. So that was the experience. One of the things that it was like a thriller. The drops of the roads and the way how people would drive. It used to be amazing. As we were, and Sister Will was with us, and she was from St. Vincent, so she would have been there to help inspire us and to give us help and help us to know certain people, and to the Pastor D and the elders, how to carry ourselves. And she was very nice and kind to us. She was always a special lady. very quiet, very nice, very gentle. And that was some of the good aspects about her. She was always pleasant, and we enjoyed that time with her. Even from here in Barbados, she was always a nice and pleasant person. So that was the journey as we went. We were going to different grounds. And different grounds, different folks. It was like always challenging, but it was worth it because we grew. There was crowds keep coming. They would come from early even to see us set up and to watch and to see what's going on. And even then we would have encouraged people to come. We even go to homes, walk from house to house and invite people. And that all of this was like unbelievable because it ain't like I was accustomed to this, but I already set in my heart, yes, this is what I need to do. And the love of God was so rich within me that this work was like so joyful. It was so much joy doing it. It felt no burdens. It just felt like just the right thing to do. So I had to enjoy every moment of crusade. Every crusade I went, I always went prepared to work. I never went to lie, I just went to work. To give it 100% at all times. So sometimes you say like you hear this people say a calling, but for me I wouldn't at that time I wouldn't understand if it was a calling. But as I went on the journey, I found it more enjoyable. I found peace doing it, so I continued, and I grew to love it. I grew to love being on the road, going out knowing that you're helping people, and seeing different cultures, and the way how different people operate. And I used to enjoy it. And I enjoy the camaraderie with other people, the way how they embrace us and take care of us, like if we were their own. So crusade out there in the mission field there was times where it's very difficult, where you can meet some hurdles, but we pray. Once you pray and believe God, you will see the doors open. Places where doors that try to be closed, when God would speak, His word will go forth. And there was nothing that could stop us from doing what we had to do, even though it was challenging sometimes. But we always had that vision that we can get it done. Don't care how challenging it was, we can get it done, and we went out to get it done at all costs. So there was nothing to stop us. Even if we had to work during the night, we would do it. If we had to move night and go out, sometimes we had to get up like 2 o'clock and move with the container just to get it from one point to the next point so it won't get hooked up in traffic, and we would get up and get it done. So it was a joy doing those crusades. And we went from one district to, we do about 5 different things. We used to do like 3 nights. 3 nights one place, 3 nights another place, and we would just pick down and move. Go the next day, set up, stay till crusade start. We would be there that whole day. I can remember when we was in Layou. Yeah. No, not Layou, Barley. In Barley there was like so many little children. There was so many, I never see so many little children in one village. Like every boy had 2 or 3 at each house. And when we go now, the little children would gather. So you know when children gather, there's nothing, you can't run them. You cannot run them. And then like, I can remember like one day, it was like lunchtime. and all the children was there. And the lunch came for us, but the meal came for the children. And I said to myself, "Jeez, where's how we gonna deal with this here now? These are a lot of children here. You can't run the street. You can't take the little children there. We doing crusades. We serve. We sharing the Lord gospel. Oh, we can't run these children." But anyhow, I had a couple dollars in my pocket. So I tell them, "Or you wanna come?" I said, "What you gonna do for me? Right? I cannot buy drinks for all of them. So what we can do? We can go at the shop. If there's 4 things I can buy 7 drinks. And we can divide these 7 drinks in half, so everybody can get some, right?" And they said, "Okay." And you know, all those little children went with me. You know, never had to tell them the children another evening to behave. Never had to tell them another evening to behave. For anything to see me, all they will run and come. And they will know the program. They will know that you can't be this church now, so you got to show a little respect. And those children grew and came and was so nice, and they would come every single evening. And but the children coming, then the parents, some of the parents then come because the children was up there. So it was like you show love and you receive love.